In the year 480 before our era, the Persian Empire crossed into Greece with the largest army the ancient world had ever assembled. Ahead of it, in a narrow pass by the sea, waited fewer than 8,000 Greeks, among them 300 Spartans. Their commander knew the odds. He also knew something the Persian king did not. Numbers can be made meaningless. The invasion had been 4 years in the making. King Xerxes intended to end Greek independence in a single campaign. His army moved with a fleet of hundreds of ships, supplying a force that ancient writers counted in the hundreds of thousands. From Egypt to India, every province of the empire sent men. Contemporaries called it an army of 40 nations. Greece, by contrast, was not even a country for it, only quarrelsome city-states that had spent centuries fighting one another. The threat forced old rivals to the same table. But a united army needed months to gather, and the Persians were already marching. So the Allies chose a delaying action. A small force would hold the invaders at a natural bottleneck while Greece armed itself. That bottleneck was Thermopylae, the Hot Gate Strait, the only road from northern into central Greece, squeezed between mountains and sea. At its narrowest, the passage shrank to the width of a cart track. Here, 100,000 men could fight no wider than 100. Command fell to Leonidas, one of Sparta's 2 kings, with his royal guard of 300 and several thousand allied troops. The Greeks repaired an old defensive wall across the pass and settled in to wait. For 4 days, nothing happened. Xerxes could not believe that so few would stand against so many. On the 5th day, he ran out of patience for it and attacked. The Greek phalanx, an interlocking wall of bronze shields and iron spear points, was built for exactly this kind of ground. Wave after wave crashed into it and broke. By nightfall, the Persians pulled back, leaving the approaches littered with their dead. The next morning, Xerxes sent in the Immortals, his 10,000-strong royal guard. They fared no better than the rest. Herodotus writes that the king, watching from his throne above the battlefield, leapt to his feet 3 times in fury. What force could not achieve, betrayal did. That night, a local Greek named Ephialtes slipped into the Persian camp. In exchange for a reward, he offered to lead the king's soldiers along a hidden mountain trail, one that came out behind the Greek lines. By torchlight, 10,000 men climbed through the forest all night. At dawn, they were already descending toward the defenders' rear. Ephialtes received his reward, and something more lasting. His name became the Greek word for nightmare, and it remains so today. The sentries guarding the trail sounded the alarm too late. A runner carried the news down to Leonidas at first light. The mathematics of the pass had collapsed. With the enemy on both sides, the position was no longer a fortress. It was a trap.
What Leonidas decided next has been debated for 25 centuries.
He ordered the bulk of the Allied army to withdraw south, alive, intact, and able to fight another day. He himself stayed, with his 300 Spartans, 700 volunteers from Thespiae, and a detachment of Thebans. Spartan law forbade retreat from an assigned post. But this decision was more than obedience. It was arithmetic.
Every hour the rearguard bought was an hour the retreating army used to escape, and Greece used to prepare. At sunrise on the 3rd day, the defenders did the unexpected. They left the wall and advanced into the open to meet the enemy.
Herodotus calls this the most savage fighting of the entire battle. Spears shattered on the first impact fight. The men drew swords. Much of what we know comes from Persian accounts he later collected. The enemy remembered these hours vividly. Then the flanking force arrived from the mountains, and the Greeks fell back to a low hill at the mouth of the pass. Somewhere in that retreat, Leonidas fell. What followed became legend even among his enemies. 4 times the Spartans charged to recover their king's body, Kulmu, and 4 times they carried it back through the crush. In the end, the Persians declined to close at all. They surrounded the hill and buried the last defenders under volleys of arrows. By evening of the 3rd day, it was over. The hot gates stood open, and the road to Athens lay undefended. The price was staggering. Ancient sources claim 20,000 Persian dead, against roughly 4. Xerxes marched south and burned Athens to the ground. To all appearances, the war was won. It was not. The 3 days at Thermopylae had set something in motion that no army could stop. That same autumn, the Greek fleet shattered the Persian navy at Salamis Gromit, and Xerxes himself sailed home. 1 year after Thermopylae, a united Greek army met the remaining Persian forces at Plataea, Phloid, and destroyed them. The invasion, 4 years in the making, had failed completely. No Persian army ever crossed into Greece again. 25 centuries later, the sea has withdrawn, and the narrow pass has widened into a plain. The geography of the battle is gone, but the hill of the last stand is still there. On it stands a stone bearing the epitaph of the poet Simonides.
Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie.
For the Greeks, Thermopylae was never a defeat. It was proof that the empire's army could bleed seamed, and therefore could be beaten. That certainty held the fragile alliance together through the darkest year of the war, all the way to the victory at Plataea. Historians rank the Greco-Persian Wars among the true turning points of world history. The civilization that survived went on to give the world philosophy, theater, science, and the first democracy. How the war was finally decided on the plain of Plataea in Borndia. That is the story of our next video. Subscribe, because the most remarkable stories are the ones textbooks tell in a single paragraph.